Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening from wherever you're watching or listening. My name is Caleb Glick. I'm a lawyer here in the great state of Texas with the Calhoun School of Law to bring you a lot of information plenty of bad folks would rather you not have. Today we're going to be providing an installation to our U.S. Constitutional Amendment series going on number 22. So if you haven't gone back and watched 1 through 21, I would encourage you to do so, especially the first 10, the 10 articles to the Bill of Rights, because while each of these amendments may not apply to you, at an individual level, at a day-to-day basis, or on a day-to-day basis, it's still very beneficial to understand exactly what the framework, the powers, the authorities, things of that nature are granted to your government, so that way whenever the government comes to your house, comes to your property, comes to your family, comes to you individually and says, are under pursuant to this said authority, we're hereby subverting your rights, your God-given rights to life, liberty, and property. So understanding your rights may seem boring, may seem tedious, but doing so is going to be absolutely imperative in fending off any of these attacks that will be levied against you, your family, or your property by the ever-growing hostile lawfare state. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on over to the U.S. Constitution. We're going again on Amendment 22, which is the one ratified almost, I think it was directly after. I can't remember FDR's term. It escapes me right now, but it was during or after FDR's term because he had served three or four terms consecutively. And before the 22nd Amendment, which was ratified in 1951, presidents could serve as many terms as they wanted. Now, the tradition normally was two. And the reason for that was because the president was never meant to be a king. He was never supposed to rule. He was never supposed to dictate or command for an extended period of time. He was to be the commander-in-chief, the chief diplomat. His job by nature, at least in the context of the Union, was to be very temporary, was to be very short-lived. And so they went ahead and codified that. Now, there are benefits and there are downsides to Amendment 22. The downsides are if you do elect a president that you like, who is doing the job he's supposed to pursuant to the U.S. Constitution, then you would want to keep voting him in. The plus side is it discourages a citizen from becoming dependent or idolizing a man, a singular individual, from elevating the president from just commander-in-chief to commander of the parliament, commander of the Congress, commander of the bench, things like that. Now, even with the 22nd Amendment, that still didn't prevent the president from doing those things, legislating from the bench. Even the most constitutionally disciplined of presidents, unfortunately, have legislated from the Oval Office, from the White House, when they are very clearly not supposed to be doing that. So while the 22nd Amendment failed in that regard, it at least tried to make an effort in that way. So let's go ahead and read it. It's a pretty upfront and simple amendment, so we probably won't read it through a second time. It was passed by Congress, a very long time period to get ratified. Passed by Congress March 21st, 1947, ratified February 27th, 1951. Section 1 says no person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice. And no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected president shall be elected to the office of president more than once. But this article shall not apply to any person holding the office of president when this article was proposed by Congress, and shall not prevent any person who may be holding the office of president or acting as president during the term within which this article becomes operative from holding the office of president or acting as president during the remainder of such term. Section 2 says this article shall be inoperative unless it shall have been ratified as an amendment to the Constitution by the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states within 7 years from the date of its submission to the states by the Congress. Another downside to the 22nd Amendment. Given that FDR and everything he did, and I would recommend all of you go read into the tragedy, the flagrant unconstitutional acts of the FDR administration, he used all of his terms to install and implement all of his unconstitutional plans. Amendment 22 makes it pretty well impossible for any person any president to overturn, to retract, to rescind all of the unconstitutional, all of the tyrannical orders and implementations that FDR put in. So I am led to believe, this is just from the lawyer's perspective. If I was a psychotic, sociopathic, power-hungry individual and I got the seat of presidency, what would I do? I would cause as much chaos and disruption. Again, this is if I'm a psychopath, which I'm not, and I was just power-hungry, which I'm not, and I got the power of presidency. I would cause as much chaos and disarray and then make it as difficult as possible for anyone to undo what I had done. How would I go about doing that? Putting a term limit on the presidency. Because if you limit it to 8 years maximum, well, I as FDR got to serve 12 or 16 years serve. I had the reins of power for 12 to 16 years. I could do whatever I wanted, and I did. And any opposition, any opponent could only have 8. Yeah, that sounds like a pretty secure way to make sure all of my implementations are never disrupted, are never disturbed. So there is a good side and there is a bad side. We've already talked about some of the good sides, some of the bad side. The bad side is if you have a president you like and you like the policies that he's implementing and he's constitutionally disciplined, it would be great to just continue re-electing him. Bad part about that is you become dependent on that president to continue doing the things that he's doing. The good side of it is the bad side of that bad side. It's good that we switch out our president. It's good that we switch out government officials because, one, the government officials shouldn't get comfortable enough dictating the lives of other people. And two, it's also a principle. It's a natural habit that the founders understood in the 1700s, in the late 1700s and early to mid 1800s, that you shouldn't be dependent upon the government, that you shouldn't place your faith in a singular man, in a president. So for an individual to be elected one term, a second term, third, fourth, fifth, so on, suggests a dependency by the citizenry upon that one individual, and that inevitably would lead to something like a monarchy, to something like a kingdom, something worse like a hereditary succession of power, which Thomas Paine made very clear is a horrible idea. If you haven't seen that lecture, I would encourage you to go watch that. Common Sense by Thomas Paine, fantastic little pamphlet, would take you maybe 3 or 4 hours to get through all of it. Definitely one of the most, if not the most influential of the embers that lit the fire for the American Revolution. But if you have any questions about what's in Amendment 22, how it necessarily pertains to you on an individual level, which it kind of does, kind of doesn't, just good to know, not necessarily have at the forefront. You're probably not going to be referencing it in any sort of civil lawsuits in the coming future, but hey, you never know. The course of human events has a funny way of giving people new experiences. But if you have any questions about what's in Amendment 22, or if you have any questions that are about amendments, well, Articles 1 through 10, and then Amendments 11 through 21, also post those in the comments, as well as if there's a topic you'd like me to cover in a future lecture. Go ahead and post those in the comments, because the entire point of the Calhoun School of Law is to provide you with the necessary skills and information to fend off any sort of lawfare attacks that will be, not if, but will be waged against you, your loved ones, or your hard-earned property. I want you to know this information so that way you don't have to trust these attorneys, you don't have to trust these lawyers who are in bed with the judges to subvert your rights as quickly as humanly possible. So again, if you have any questions at all, let me know in the comments. Equally, if you enjoyed this lecture, let me know. If not, let me know how I can do better so I can serve that purpose more exceptionally rather than insufficiently. Perfect. So my name is Caleb Glick. I'm a lawyer here in the great state of Texas with the Calhoun School of Law to bring you a lot of information that plenty of bad folks would rather you not have. I hope you'll have a wonderful day, and I'm not sure what the topic for the next lecture is going to be, but I'll do my best to make it as informative and entertaining as this one, if not more so, again, to serve that ultimate purpose of providing you information. One last time, hope y'all have a wonderful day, and until the next lecture, regardless of topic, I bid you all farewell.